Makes Canadians Canadians? We're very polite. Notice how I'm saying we and not they, because I feel like part of us now. We're always saying sorry. Canadians are so polite. Sometimes I find it really funny. Like, you're sorry for nothing. Like, why are you sorry? You didn't have to be. So, yeah, Canadians are very polite, very polite. And we like poutine. I like poutine.
That's $1 million question. What makes Canadians Canadian? Diversity and embracing different cultures. I think that's what makes Canadian Canadian.
A Canadian is a person who comes from all over the place. Some Canadians come from this place, some Canadians come from every corner of the globe. And in Canada, what makes a Canadian a real Canadian is a person who has made the decision that they're going to work within that culture of diversity, that they're going to take all the strength from everybody around them and learn from them and move forward.
So what makes Canadians Canadians is a very interesting question. I really think the celebration of differences makes us Canadian. I think if you look at somewhere like the United States, they have this melting pot idea, where no matter where you come from or who you are or what your background is, you fit into the American culture now, you are now an American. In Canada, I think that we have a cultural mosaic where when people come to Canada, they don't necessarily have to leave their culture behind, but rather they can contribute who they are and their celebrations and their ethnic contributions to the overall fabric of Canada. And I think that those celebrations is what makes a Canadian a Canadian.
What makes Canadian Canadian? A combination of modesty and self-esteem.
What makes Canadians Canadians? That's a good question. Because sometimes my kids will ask me, they'll say, am I Canadian? Is mom Canadian? Well, mom was born in Lebanon. Of course she's Canadian, and of course you're Canadian. Anyone who lives here is Canadian. But in terms of kind of Canadianness, like maybe if there's some kind of Canadian values or spirit, I think Canadian values are about openness, cultural diversity, a kind of sense that, you know, we can always do better in terms of our cultural awareness, that we can right historical wrongs. For example, a lot of the bad things that happened during colonization. So my sense is that these are pretty broadly shared values, and that's one thing I think that the world looks to Canada to lead on this kind of these matters. And so I think this, the fact that we have these values and that we can cultivate them is something that can really we can be proud of, and that can help the global community too.
That's a tough question. What makes humans humans? That's the way how people like Canadians can describe themselves. There is actually more than just an adjective. To be Canadian, it means to add up something to a new culture and to the nature. Just like a seed that hasn't grown up yet, but it has a good soil and it has this potential just to grow up and to grow, to bloom. And I feel we all here in Canada have this potential to show who we can be in the future, or maybe we have bloomed already, who knows. For me, it's maybe I'm in the middle. I still don't know if I will bloom in the way how I want to, but the beauty of Canada is definitely wild flowers that rise one day, and this is something that makes the nature here in Canada even more interesting.
Canadians are special because we have multiculturalism built right into our foundational documents, and it's part of our identity to accept other people and to come to understand other cultures, to really value diversity.
Well, all I could say is I'm a Canadian first, I was born in Canada. Yes, I am a very proud Canadian. I think we're a measured people. We don't have a lot of bluster, I like to think. Our system of government is sort of a mix of British and American style government, which I think works out okay. I worry about democracy these days, and I have been thinking about this even in the last few weeks, that Canada may end up being one of the last true democracies, if I could use that term. So I'm very proud of our traditions, and we've always been there when times are tough. Yeah, we're a country of 36 million people, spread over a huge landmass. I think our traditions are respectful.
I find that what makes Canadians Canadian, I guess, is, if that's the question, is the fabric of our society. It's quite colorful, to put it in artistic terms, but it is quite colorful. And it's, you know, it's mixing. You know, in the studio for me, it's mixing colors. And as an artist, I'm quite familiar with that concept, because when you start mixing colors, you create new colors. And colors are just as infinite as numbers are. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, is that when you're creating and you're mixing colors like that, you're creating new things and new ideas. And when you apply that to what makes our country the way it is, then to me it makes sense like that, because we all need to be a part of something, and we all mix with ideas. And as people, we can't help but bounce into each other and cross paths and talk and grow ideas and explore things. And as a society, as Canadian society, we need to embrace that concept of to be open and to be welcoming for any idea. Doesn't matter what culture you come from. So,
to me, what's really important in learning about other cultures is how much it enriches my life to know that people act and think differently from me. It makes me open my eyes to see things. What makes us Canadian is, I think, that openness. And what frightens me is that sometimes we aren't as open as we should be. And that too is part of being Canadian.